And welcome back to another edition of Running with James podcast. I'm excited to join you today. We have a special guest in the house today.
Yeah.
Big Night Dog in the house.
Big Night Dog. Bring your daughter to the podcast
Bring Rocky's daughter to the podcast day.
Yeah.
He tried to pawn her off on my wife, and
Did not go so well.
little Nye wasn't having it.
She was not. It was weird today.
Yeah, she was losing her stuff.
Yeah, the last 3-4 episodes, she's been with Leah.
She's been chill, taking care of it, and shout out to Big Lily. She's been handling it, holding it down.
Everyone gets these nicknames.
but
Big
today,
Night Dog. Big
Not
Lily.
like it's not Big Lee Dog. It's Big Lily.
I know, but I'm like
Yeah.
Big Night Dog, Big Lily.
Big Rock Dog.
No,
I also
one.
call her Nana sometimes too, because sometimes she acts like an old lady.
I'm going to call her Nana.
Yeah, sometimes she drives like an old lady and does stuff like an old lady. So I just like Nana. So anyway, so we're also joined not only our special guest and special co-host with Rocky as well. Papa Rock. He's definitely
Rock.
Papa Rock today.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you hear just a random like, it's not Lauren as usual.
No, it's actually not me today.
Right? It's actually a baby in the house. You're like, why is there?
So we'll see who cries the most
Yeah,
today.
we'll see who
We're
can
gonna
lose
see who
it
cries
first,
the
right?
most.
And then we have Lauren as well.
The OG baby of the podcast.
There it is.
There we go.
There it is. So so today, guys, we are, we're still coming off of, a few races and got a bunch of races coming up.
Yeah.
And a lot of different kind of races, right?
Yeah.
Feels
so,
like.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So you were talking today. You are not probably gonna compete in Dallas
No.
hyrox.
No.
But so you're now transitioning. The week before Dallas hyrox, we have the Spartan Super.
Yep.
It's gonna be in Cat Springs.
OCR race, obstacle course
it's an
race.
OCR race.
Yep.
It's a 10K.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing the super, but then the week after I am doing the hyrox. So I was actually asking you about, well, so since you're not training for hyrox, I mean, you have to train for championships, obviously, but how do you go about transitioning between the training so you don't lose your strength? You can kind of transition into doing more obstacle course specific, like with more trails. Obviously, you're moving around very differently when you're on the obstacles versus pushing a sled. So how do you transition that training, not lose the strength you've gained, and manage it all while not burning out physically or mentally?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think like when you use the term "not lose your strength" or what have you, that's a very, I don't know. That's not really. There's not really a lot of truth to that, right? So like if you gain strength over a period of a year or 2 years or something, and let's say you do deadlifts, right? And you're focused on getting a heavy deadlift or something, right? You want to get your deadlift PR up, and you focus on deadlift form and strength and all this stuff, and then you don't deadlift for 2 months. It's not like you can't do deadlifts anymore.
No, but
You know?
I guess more I meant like sometimes it feels like when there was a period where maybe before we started really focusing on our hyrox training, and this might have just been me and like how I approached the training. It felt like when we were really heavily training a lot of trails, OCR, I think it was like when we were really training for OCR Worlds, and then got back to the sled. The sled suddenly, even though I should have maintained the strength for the most part, the sled suddenly felt very awkward and more exhausting. And I don't know if it's because the movement and the muscle memory were not quite making the connection because it was a little different from what I'd been doing.
So I guess the first thing probably we should do is get over and past like some, what do you call them when they're not true?
Myths?
Myths
Myth.
first, right?
Yeah.
In that, so like when you're trying to compare things, you don't want to compare apples to oranges. You need to compare apples to apples,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So the first thing you were pushing a heavier sled. That's
true.
number one.
That's true. I was
Plus, when you
training
were
your weight.
preparing for when you were preparing for OCR World Championships, you had realistically only done hyrox one time, I think, right?
No. Oh, you talking about the first time?
Yeah.
Oh, the very first time, yes. The very first time. I forgot this is my second year doing Worlds, but yes.
So you had just done it once, right? And then you switched to start doing OCR World training, and you weren't really pushing the sled for like 6 months or something like that, right? And then you came off of OCR World's training, and if I remember correctly, okay, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like during the 3 months preparing for OCR Worlds, your training wasn't like super consistent, like as far as like your mileage.
That's true. No, that's true.
And
So
the
I'm saying-
workouts you were doing,
Yeah.
and then you did OCR Worlds, and then the next week after OCR Worlds, you did the Savage Race.
I did.
Correct?
I did.
And And then you're like, all right, now it's time to go hard for hyrox,
Yeah.
right? And then you immediately go on and start doing all these hard workouts for hyrox. So, and because some of the other people were training for like the world championships, they were doing the heavy sled.
Yeah.
So you were trying to do the heavy sled with them.
Yeah.
So now you're not trying to push the same weight you were pushing before. Now you're pushing an extra 100 pounds.
Yeah. That's true.
So
That's true.
probably the reason the sled felt heavier
Because it was.
is because it was heavier, right? So I think sometimes what I try to tell people all the time is, you know, one bad week of training or one bad month of training or changing your training completely to some other discipline over the period of a month or two does not ruin a year's worth of
Yes,
consistent training,
that. Mm-hmm.
right? So now the idea may be that you're in worse shape or not as strong, right? But as far as muscular strength and the actual reality of it all, that's not the case, right? So that's the cool thing about training is that, you know, when you build something up and you strengthen it. So perfect example, we did a workout on Tuesday and, you know, we're kind of switching over to, you know, I'm trying to take one workout a week where I just focus on nothing but just building like some strength.
I liked Tuesday's workout. I liked slowing it down and kind of working specifically on those movements.
Yeah. So it was just like slower. It wasn't really high intensity at all. Very slow. But it was kind of easy peasy, right? Because we were coming off a race.
Yes,
but
I appreciate that.
But still working on some strength. And so I was working through the movements with somebody on like how to do a muscle up. You know, last time I did a muscle up,
2 weeks ago.
no, it's like
Ninja?
6 months ago, maybe.
Oh.
Right? I mean, I don't know. It's been a long time since I tried to like do a muscle up. So I was like, okay, here's how you false grip, right? And I didn't do a kip. I just like
He looks pretty solid.
I just
He
did a
looks
regular
smooth.
muscle up, right? And I hadn't done one in 6 months, right? But I do other things that incorporate pulling and core strength, right? And things of that nature. And so, you know, I whipped out like 9 or 12 reps or something like that,
Dang.
right? So,
I have video proof.
and it wasn't like it was not a kipping muscle up. It was just like a real standard muscle up. So now, maybe 6 months ago, if I was training on them regularly, you know, could I maybe have done, you know, 15 or 20? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. You know, maybe that's the concept, but it's not like I haven't lost the ability to do it, right? So what we talk about all the time, because we do so many different events. So we talked about it, I think we mentioned it last week about the hybrid athlete, right? So a hybrid athlete. How would you define a hybrid athlete, Lauren?
Me, I would say a hybrid athlete is someone who can cross over between the cardio, the strength. I mean, I would say that honestly, really, the cardio and the strength. Like there's somebody who is more proficient in a bunch of different athletic backgrounds.
Okay.
So there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
So in our case, it's like hyrox, OCR, running.
Yeah.
That to me is a hybrid athlete.
Okay. So someone I would say who does multiple disciplines.
Yeah.
Right. So I think CrossFit, the whole concept of CrossFit is to be the best overall like hybrid athlete type situation. But with CrossFit, you have a lot of technical movements, right? You have a lot of technical skill sets like Olympic lifts and gymnastic movements, you know.
And WODs.
What is a WOD?
Workout of the day, dude.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Okay.
We don't use that term that often, so I forget. I have heard it.
I don't ever use that.
I would say, so I forget
Very
what
CrossFit
it is.
style thing.
It's,
So
yeah, it's CrossFit
But,
lingo.
I mean, technically, they do work over a ton of different disciplines, right? And they're trying to be the best overall. You know, I guess the way Dave Castro said it a few years ago is like he's trying to build Batman, right? So Batman can do everything, right? So he's the master at everything. But I feel like a hybrid athlete is very similar, except it spans a wide range of elements, right? So it could be someone who does obstacle course racing or does fitness competitions. They run, they swim, they bike. So they do like a hybrid of different events.
Yeah.
Well, that's really hard to train for. It can
Yeah.
be, right? So like if you look at a triathlete's trying to be really, really good at 3 different disciplines: run, bike, swim.
Yep.
Right. And they're not. I mean, they're similar in that they're great for aerobic capacity, but they're different in that the techniques to improve for each one of them is very, very different. And so you have to practice the techniques. You have to practice your stroke. You have to practice your breathing when you're swimming. You have to practice. You know, you have to have a good equipment, like as far as riding and cycling. You got to put your butt in the saddle. So there's a lot of work that has to be done to be really good at running, cycling, and swimming.
Yeah.
Well, in the same aspect for what we do, we are like even more so because we are doing things that, you know, will require bicep strength. Overall, you have to be able to manipulate your body weight. Plus, you need to be able to be fast and strong, right? Because you may have to lift something that's a couple hundred pounds, or you may have to push something that's 300-400 pounds.
Yeah.
At the same time, you need to be able to run fast, or you may have to climb a mountain, right? So there's a lot of different disciplines and a lot of different overall strengths that you have to kind of overcome. And so, I think it's perfect for what we call periodization training, right? So what periodization training is, nothing new. It's been around for a long time. It's basically you do a certain style of training or a certain discipline of training for a certain period of time. And usually it's been on the event, right? So if you're running a 5K, well, the workouts you would do for a 5K are different than the workouts you would usually do for like a marathon, right? So if you're doing a marathon, you're usually going to be doing, you want to make sure you're getting your volume up, you're doing more aerobic efforts, and, you're sprinkling in race pace efforts, right? So you're running faster paces, but those faster paces, maybe 1 or 1.5 minutes faster than your conversation pace. Whereas like if you're doing, say, a 5K, where you're going to be doing shorter efforts that are hard workouts, but you're going significantly faster because you're trying to get into your lactate threshold and your anaerobic capacity. So the workouts you do for a certain period of time would change. And as you get closer and closer to those events, you start doing more event-specific activities.
Okay.
So like right now, we are transitioning from, the bulk of the team doing hyrox to more OCR training, right?
Yeah.
Well, you still need strength, you still need speed, you still need stamina, but most of this is going to be on the trails.
It's going to be terrain,
right? So you're going to be dealing with undulating terrain. You're going to be dealing with roots and rocks and some technical terrain, stuff like that. So you need to have your ankles and your knees and your all that stuff needs to be acclimated to that type of terrain. Not to mention your brain needs to be able to feel pretty balanced and have some pretty decent equilibrium when you're out there on that uneven terrain.
Yeah.
You're also going to be flinging your body around a lot more, right?
Yeah.
So you think about
Going
hyrox.
through obstacles, you're moving very, I don't want to say primitively, but you're swinging through things very differently.
Right. So you're having to manipulate your own body weight through whatever the obstacle is, right? Or climb over something. And, just to kind of maybe compare the two. So in hyrox, you have the sled pull and sled push. You have the lunges, right? So those do kind of increase your heart rate, but you're doing those from anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes at a time, right? And so it's very steady, right? So you may get a buildup of lactate in your quads or your glutes or something because you're doing this activity, but for the most part, your heart rate usually doesn't go too high during the workout itself on that particular thing, right?
Yeah, those you say a little more chill, hopefully.
Right. So, but say in an obstacle course race, if you go over 2 or 3 walls, right? Well, you're trying to do that in stride, so it really you're not slowing down, Or if you're going to a rig, right, where you got ring to ring to ring or something, well, you're trying to fly through that pretty quickly, so it breaks up your running rhythm. But for the most part, you're still you're run, hit it, keep running, right? So it's a very short duration in between your run intervals, whereas you may have 2 or 3 minutes between a run when you're doing a workout at hyrox. So, your heart rate tends to stay a little bit higher. So doing lactate style workouts where you're keeping your heart rate at an elevated level for, 20, 30 minutes at a time are great ways to kind of train for that. So all you're really doing is you're just fine tuning, right? You're fine tuning. And I believe doing the different events actually helps for the other events. So, back in the day, they would tell you it's important to do cross training, right? So what does cross training mean to you guys?
Rocky?
Run and work out. Not only run, but also work out as well. Do some
strength,
throw
or?
some weights. Yeah.
Okay, strength
throw
training.
some weights. Do some resistance training with dumbbells, or do some ab workouts. Do some squats.
Yeah.
But you're also a runner,
Yeah.
so cross the training up between just cardio, but also do strength training.
Sure.
That's what
I mean, I would have to, I'd have to pretty much back that up. I would say if you're doing cardio, most people who I think are proficient in running or cycling or swimming, they do cross over with a strength to build those muscles to help improve your posture, your form. So I would say it's a mixture of cardio with strength.
Okay.
To me, would be cross training.
Sure. Okay. So, I mean, that's kind of like everybody, and I don't think really most people even know what that should look like.
I would
when
agree.
They say cross training, right? They just, I'm gonna do some of these.
Yeah, I'm
maybe
just gonna do some bicep curls and
do
that's
some
it.
of these, right?
Yeah.
Some of these.
Some crunches.
Yeah, maybe do some sit-ups and some crunches, and then I'm good, right? Whereas, maybe if you want to be a really good runner, you need to do run-specific cross-training, right? Where you're strengthening your hip flexors, your hamstrings, your glutes, right? You're working on very run-specific strengthening movements, bridges, stuff like that, to help accentuate and make your running stronger.
Yeah.
Right? So, for us, we already exercise and we work very specific things to try to improve our overall strength for OCR or for hyrox. And so it just so happens that a lot of those movements help to develop glute strength, hamstring strength, calf strength, which are muscles you're going to utilize when you're running.
Yeah.
So it's a very fluid thing, and I mean basically just helping you be the best overall athlete. So another form of cross training would be like doing drills, right? Very specifically doing run drills, and you mentioned the word muscle memory.
Yeah.
So it's most people use that term. It's not a wrong term, but your muscles don't actually have memory.
Oh, really?
No, your muscles don't remember anything. They don't have brains. But your brain is a brain, and you have what we call neurological pathways
Yes.
that are connected from your brain to your
Yes.
muscles, right? And so when you do things like drills or run, or when you do repetitive motions,
Yes.
right?
You're creating.
These neurological pathways.
Yeah.
Now, hey, what did I tell you before we started this?
Don't put you in. What is the thing in Matilda? The kids go in when they're not good. The
I have
closet.
no idea.
You remember that?
I don't.
They go in that closet.
I didn't
Yeah,
watch
the
Matilda.
closet with the spikes.
Yeah, the closet with the spikes. Sorry, I got loud for
Yeah.
a
I
I don't know
second.
what that is.
Oh, it's Matilda. It is basically child abuse, but
Oh,
they
okay.
said it was okay for a movie.
No, we're not going to abuse the 3-month-old baby.
No, we love the baby.
So, but I mean, that's really what it's going to be about. Is you're creating, this repetition to
Yeah.
create the neurological pathways. So it becomes cross training.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Makes you a better runner. So
Okay.
I would say anything that accentuates whatever your main focus is.
Okay.
Helps you be better at it is that's not the exact thing you're trying to do would be cross training.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. And in a lot of OCR, you still see events like, especially at Spartan, they have you do the Atlas carry.
Yep.
They have you at the stadium. We're going to be doing lunges up bleachers, which is going to be fantastic.
Stairs, yeah.
So
What?
I do.
Climbing stairs.
We are?
Oh yeah, you're going to love it.
Oh, guys, from last week's Rockies Ramble, I take that back. You don't need to sign up. That's just
This dude.
that's too crazy.
It's a lot of stairs with a sandbag.
Haven't you done a stadium race before?
Yeah, I don't remember doing lunges.
No, it's not lunges. It's just
Sorry,
stair climbs. I'm not
stairs.
sure what she's talking
I
about.
was because I
Oh.
was saying the lunges will help.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
I'm saying the
I
lunges will
gotcha.
help.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, then all right, yeah.
I
All
got
right,
you.
guys, sign up. 20% code. Remember last week? Go check it out.
He says it like it doesn't scare him, and it's a lot of stairs, but you should still do it.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
It's fine.
Well, I'm gonna do the open with everybody else, so
Okay.
I'll be good.
I got
I'm not competing.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll wish you probably competed when we get there. I mean, you got a month plus to train for it.
If I don't have a chance at podium, I'm not gonna do it.
You got 4 weeks. You never know.
Nah, I know my competition's tough.
Okay. I'm not gonna try to convince you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Anyway, muscle memory, not a thing. Creating neurological pathways, however, that's science.
Yeah.
That's real. We know that
All right.
happens.
So when you're doing certain things, whether it's lifting or sled pushes or sled pulls, you are creating neurological pathways, for the movement to be more efficient. And it is possible that if you don't do a particular movement over an extended period of time, you're just not going to be as efficient with it because you haven't been practicing it,
Yeah.
right? So the more you touch and feel, it's just like obstacles, right? So that's kind of why we're transitioning over to like more obstacle training, where it's not going to be like super different, same concepts, just we're touching different things to, get more efficient at the obstacles themselves. So like we did our workout today, and we did a bunch of monkey bars, right? So
We
we
did a lot of
probably did
monkey
like
bars.
6 sets of monkey bars. It wasn't hard, right? But like I didn't feel any weaker on the monkey bars, but like is my efficiency where it was maybe a year ago when mainly I was focusing on
Yeah.
OCR training, right? So that's why you get back into the periodization, because that's the main goal for the time being. And so we want to strengthen, the neurological pathways. And then also, you need to get those muscles firing again, right? And you
Yeah.
can keep building new strengths, right? So, I expect to get stronger the more I do it because I already have a base level of fitness from all the years that I've been training specifically for it.
So, do you think? We personally know some athletes who are incredible at what they do. They do ultras, they do OCR, they do hyrox, they do a little all of it, and some of them are really good at doing all of it.
Yeah.
So, kind of touching in on, because I feel like I always heard like you can do all these things, but you're never going to be able to be great at all of them.
There is some truth to that. I think there is truth to that because it's kind of like that old adage, you can be good at a lot of things, but you can never be great at a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's because if it's focus,
Yeah.
right? So the more focused you are on one particular thing, well, the more energy you can put into that one thing.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult, right? Aside from genetics and experience, to be like the best at every single thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, Bo Jackson was this like super athlete, just dude was just like he was a freak of nature, and great football player. He also played baseball, and he was a great baseball player. But usually, one thing, like when he was transitioning from one sport to the other, during the season or what have you, in the first part of it, he kind of wasn't great because he hadn't been practicing, right? He hadn't been like working on his skill sets. But then midway through the season, he would start getting better and better and better because it was like he was getting in that groove, right? So could he have been like the best baseball player ever, or could he have been the best football player ever if he had just focused on that one thing? That's very possible, So, there's something to be said that if you want to be the greatest you possibly can be at anything, then that's going to be that you want to be focused on that one thing.
Focused.
Yeah. So it's all about focus, right? But let's also be honest, like the Iron Man, like the world champion Iron Man, that guy or that gal or whatever is amazing at swimming, biking, and running, and better than probably 50 to 60% of the elite athletes doing just running or just cycling or just swimming. But the best Iron Man is not faster than Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
Right. The best Iron Man is not faster than Eliud Kipchoge. Right.
Yeah.
The best Iron Man is not better than
Lance Armstrong.
we'll say
Throwback
Lance, or
Lance.
whoever the best guy is
Cyclist
now,
is
right?
now,
The best
yeah.
cyclist is now, right? So, and probably not even close to them, okay? So, whereas they may not be able to, maybe they don't have the skill sets, right? Maybe they don't have the talent to be the best at one thing,
Yeah.
but they are very talented at other things, and they can take a sport like Ironman or triathlon, and because they're really, really good at multiple things,
Yeah.
and they have the ability, the capacity to train for them, well, then that can be their thing.
Yeah.
And then Eliud Kipchoge may not be able to compete with them when it's a run and a swim
Yeah.
and a bike,
Yeah.
right? And so, I think that's the beauty of, OCR and hyrox and all these new sports that are kind of coming in is that, maybe you're not going to be the best at that thing, but like no one else is going to be as good as you are at this thing,
Yeah.
So.
Have you heard that? So it makes me think, and I brought it up because it made me think of a quote. You've heard of the quote, "A jack of all trades is
But a master of none.
But have you heard the full quote?
No, maybe
so the
not.
full quote is actually, and I had to look it up because I didn't want to butcher it. It's actually, I think it's really lovely. It's a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, I think
Because
that really
I would
ties
say
Because it rhymed.
in.
it does rhyme really well.
It does
right?
rhyme well.
But then
Goes on a T-shirt.
right. But in addition to that too, right, they're probably more useful
Yeah.
because they can do a lot of other really, really
Yeah.
good things,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, who do you want to be in the zombie apocalypse with? Somebody who can just run fast, or somebody who can run fast and climb a wall?
Yeah, I guess first we can climb a wall too, but how's that help me if they leave me behind?
I mean,
Well, but here's the deal: if they're an our athlete, they could probably help throw you over the wall, right?
You know what?
Ah.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of zombies, real quick, get off topic. Imagine being in a room full of football player zombies,
I would.
like NFL players. Imagine they all turn into
That would
zombies.
be a bad day.
That's it.
for
I'm
you.
done for.
I mean, it just depends on what position they play. If it's a bunch of linemen, you're probably okay. You can just,
You went out to go do it. You went out to go get on a grocery run during the zombie apocalypse.
yeah, probably not. You don't want like a
And
running back or a
the
defensive end
Texans,
or
all
something.
the full zombie Texans team comes in.
You wouldn't have to worry about it if it was the Texans.
And you run into, I guess Saquon Barkley is an amazing running back, big old thighs, and he's a zombie.
Yeah,
You're done.
that was really random, bro.
Yeah, I can't keep
That
up
was
with
like
this conversation anymore.
rambling-esque.
I mean, I didn't want to run
Early
zombies.
segment, nice.
That's like just a taste of what's coming later. Just
Nice,
know the
nice.
theme.
I mean, I
Focus.
actually would be more afraid of like, say, like a marathon runner or like a
Yeah.
5K or a 10K.
Eliud Kipchoge,
elite
man, you
runner.
gotta go against him.
If
Yeah.
Eliud Kipchoge
Because there's
became
no
a-
outrunning that
Yeah.
cat,
No.
right? It's like,
No.
I mean, eventually, like the football player, you can wear him down, and they're not going to catch you, and they're going to give up. But like, you get like a dude who runs a 10K in like 12 minutes or something stupid, then maybe,
Call it quits.
yeah, just go ahead and you start walking. Maybe that'd be your best bet. Just start walking like a zombie. Brains. I don't know.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Sorry, I've seen too many clips of Walking Dead lately. I guess.
No, I don't know.
I've been watching The Last of Us, so
I need to watch
that's
that
what got
show.
me thinking about it.
I need
Yeah.
to watch that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
already
heard
had
all
this
about
thought
them zombies.
about the football.
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah,
He's a man to watch.
The man,
he's hot
DeLorean.
right now.
He is very hot.
Not like that.
Oh, well,
Oh
he's
my
hot too.
I think it's
Pedro.
hilarious. Like guys like him, They're just normal looking guys.
I think he's very
But they
attractive.
immediately
He got
get
the
on
lead role.
They get on the lead role or whatever, and they get in like 3 or 4 movies, and all of a sudden they're super hot.
And not only
No,
that, he's
he
the lead
was
role
like-
of taking care of kids.
That
He
one,
get-
like he'd had one or two scenes in Mandalorian where he took his helmet off, and I was like, "That's a good-looking man."
He's actually not that great looking of a guy.
Oh, I think he's a
and he's
good-looking
got
man.
a weird mustache.
It's the mustache.
His
It's like-
mustache is a little
It's like peach
disheveled,
fuzz.
but it's.
I mean,
cute.
he's not an ugly man by any stretch of the imagination, but he's not like, oh my god, I gotta.
He's
so
no Henry
give you an
Cavill.
example.
He's no Henry Cavill.
Like if he walks
Cavill.
into a room and he's not a freaking celebrity, nobody's probably giving him the time of day, unless he's very like charismatic and he's like very confident, right? Then he's good looking enough that he could probably get whoever, right? But if he's just some normal dweeb like the rest of us, ain't nobody going out with him. Now freaking like Henry Cavill walks in, or freaking Thor. What's Thor's name?
Hemsworth.
Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth walks in.
I'm all about that. Not the Superman
I mean,
character,
they don't
but
even
that
have to be
actor.
like funny or
Yeah.
whatever.
They don't
No.
got to talk. They
Yeah.
just stand there.
I mean, just grunt, and then they're like, yeah, yeah, right? So, 2 completely different categories. I don't know. I just think it's funny. Like my wife thinks Jason Statham is attractive or whatever, and I'm like, he's not really. I mean, from the neck down, the dude is like,
He's chiseled.
he's chiseled and grizzled, but I think it's also
Is he?
because
Chiseled and grizzled.
Oh yeah, he's
He's
like,
got that. Oh, he's.
he's got a
Well,
very.
he was actually in the. He was
Transporter?
Like in the, no, yeah. Well, the guy who played Transporter, yes, but
Fast
he
and
was
Furious
actually. I thought he was like in the military.
he was
for-
a swimmer.
No, I thought
He was like an Olympic level swimmer.
No, I thought he was in the military.
I don't know if he was. He might have been.
Okay, anyway, but-
we don't need to look it up and find out.
We
Okay.
don't.
But
I am
my
part of the-
wife
I am part of the
thinks that
research
he's
team.
like a, and it might be too also because you know he's manly. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like all right now, I'm gonna punch you in the face. I don't know. I have my
Is he
English,
Australian
my
suddenly?
I think it's
English
because he's
accent is not
bald.
very
And then
good.
Your English
he has a
Australian is
mean
my
back?
English accent is not very good.
It's Australian.
Well, yes, like I just said. Obviously, it's not good. I just said that. Okay, crikey.
Anyway, easy crocodile Dundee.
So anyway, so I mean, I wouldn't be nearly as attractive as I am if I wasn't such a celebrity on Running with James.
Same.
Just levels you up.
I couldn't even get it out. I don't believe it, obviously. I couldn't even get it out. Couldn't even get it out.
Oh man. Okay,
Anyway.
so zombies aside, jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
We agree that like while you have these athletes who are singularly good in their one niche sport, their
Mm-hmm.
specific sport, like probably the more I don't want to say handy thing, but like being a master or someone who's very proficient in multiple sports is probably
My personal opinion, I think they're, like, if you're just talking about being an athlete, I think they're better athlete overall.
Okay.
So, like, you think of, like, decathletes,
okay.
right? So they're individuals who do 10 different track events, right?
Shout out Caitlin.
Huh?
Shout out to Caitlin.
So they do like the mile, they do 100 meters. I think they may do a hurdle. They do like the long jump, the high jump. I think they do the what do you call it? The pole
vault
vaults,
thing?
right? I
Pole
think they do like the
I almost said pogo.
maybe
stick.
not the javelin, but I know they do the throw the ball, the
Oh, the
shot put,
Shot put,
right?
yeah.
And they do the discus for sure, right?
Yeah.
this is all a deca
Yeah,
athlete?
it's 10 different.
decathlete?
It's 10 different events. Yeah.
I
So
would be
and they have to
terrible
be
at all
really good at all 10 of those events.
No, I'd be
right?
terrible at all those.
So, but like when you compare them to like when you're watching them, like they're fast and everything, but like the level of speed and height that they can jump and everything else, like it's not even close to like the best of the best, you know. But they're really, 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 really good at all those different things, right? So, oh, I get it now.
Mhm.
It just clicked. I'm sorry.
What clicked? What?
He said, "Shout out Caitlyn
Yeah.
Caitlin.
Jenner."
Oh my god.
I
Kate,
thought you just ignored me.
I'm gonna
I wasn't
smother
ignoring
you with a pillow.
I just caught you.
I figured
just-
you were talking about someone like we knew.
Yeah, I did too. I thought you were
I'm
talking
like,
about some
Caitlyn
some girl
who?
you knew that was a decathlete at high school or college or something. But
Yeah.
it clicked.
No
It
one
clicked.
else is gonna get that obscure reference
They
because
will
such
now.
old news.
They will now. So,
of you.
and if
He was a
not,
legend.
look it up.
Yeah.
Legend, yes.
Yeah.
He's
Both
the
of you.
only she's the only person that has been both the man and woman of the year.
Gang, gang.
Say it up. So I mean, you're an athlete when you can pull that off, right?
Mhm.
So, but those are being able to do that many things at one time, like takes a lot of work and a lot of training. So, it is very challenging to train for multiple disciplines.
Yeah.
It's very challenging.
I mean, I get tired just going between hyrox and OCR and all the trail running we do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time. It takes the scheduling.
Yeah,
Just the
you've got to be able to
scheduling of
schedule it, right?
everything.
You got to be able to focus the training.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're doing 2 days, right, or 3 days. So the recovery is almost as important as the training.
Yeah.
So like with all athletes, recovery is highly important. But when you're doing multiple disciplines, and let's say you're doing, you know, a big strength effort, and the next day you've got to come back and try to do, you know, an easy recovery run, or you're trying to do some long mileage or something like that. Well, your body needs to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
If you do a you know, like say a big leg session or something like that, and the next day you're trying to come in and do some sort of OCR event, or you're trying to do you know, a run, you know, that run you may feel kind of dragged down, right? So, you know, it's really important to do those recovery sessions and work in, whether it's taking ice baths or, you know, Epsom salt baths or stretching or doing mobility stuff, right? Putting on the compression, you know,
Those
boots or what have
boots?
you.
Oh, man, those
you know,
things are
all
great.
that stuff is very helpful because it helps allow your body to recuperate and have enough rest that you can go back in again
Yeah.
to give an effort in.
Okay, and then on top of that, obviously, fueling yourself properly for doing all these different things, like
Yeah.
that goes in.
Yeah, actually, I read a really cool little article about triathletes, and they were talking about like how much the elite level athletes train, and they were trying to compare them to like, okay, so you're training for 3 different events.
Mm-hmm.
How do you train in comparison to the people who train for one event?
Okay.
And it was crazy, like the world champion or whatever for Ironman or what have you. They said he basically ran around 60 to 70 miles a week. Okay, which that's a lot of mileage for the average person, but that's not as many miles as like say, you know, an elite level runner will run, or elite level runner will run 100 plus miles
I'll say
a
we
week.
know some people who do close to that.
Right? So
Yeah.
they'll run 100 plus miles a week if you're an elite level runner. Well, but the only thing is that they're not only running for 60,
they're
70 miles a week,
biking.
but they're also cycling, you know, for 10 hours a week or something like that, right? So 10 to 12 hours a week. So they're cycling. And then not only doing that, they're also swimming for like 7 hours a week, right? So, you know, and then you look at the swimmers, same thing. I think they were saying that like a swimmer, you know, swims like 10K or 12K a week.
And
right?
again, this is like we'll say an Olympic
level,
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
It's like the best of the best. And these guys may only been swimming like 7K. So they're doing 60% or so, 70%. But when you add all 3 events together, they're really doing like 150%
lot of
of what
effort.
they do, right?
Yeah.
So whereas like maybe an elite level athlete may train, you know, 15 to 20 hours a week, right? Which is a lot of training.
That's a lot of work.
That is a ton of training.
Yeah.
Right? That's a full-time job, training.
No, that's why that is their job.
It is, right?
It's literally their job.
Like an Ironman, like elite level Ironman may train 30 to 40 hours a week, right? 30 to 35, I think is what they were saying were average. And some are above that, some below, right? And some have some crazy additions. So you're thinking about, okay, dang, that's a lot of training.
Yeah.
And the only reason is because they're trying to be so good at so many different things.
Now you say the training is that like that 25 to 30 or whatever hours, does that include like the recovery time, like doing your compression or setting aside time to do recovery or anything that's more
Well, they
rest?
include in that 30 to 35 hours.
Get worked in there?
That
Okay.
didn't include
Rest recovery?
like doing strength workouts, like
Okay.
cross training. It didn't
Jeez.
include doing recovery work, you know, and the same thing for the, you know, the runners and the swimmers.
It just was a
that was
specific-
just their amount of training they were doing for those specific events.
Oh, wow.
Right. So they may be training 40 plus hours a week, adding that other stuff in. Right. So when you try to compare yourself to like a professional athlete or someone who's an elite level athlete, you really can't, because unless you know exactly what it is they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And you know the amount of work they're putting into it. And yeah, nutrition is a huge part of it. So, but if you think about that, they are basically putting in they're putting in sub-elite level training for every event. But then when you combine all 3 of those, they're doing well over what most elite level athletes are doing. Wow. But I mean, they're also putting in some crazy times, right? So I think I don't know, it was like sub 8 hours. It was like 7 hours and something or whatever to do an Ironman. So they ran a marathon, they swam 2 miles, and they biked 12 miles or whatever it is, I think, in that amount of time, right? So you're talking about they were running like a 2 hour and 20 minute, 2 hour and 30 minute marathon after swimming.
I was going to say, because the swimming, the marathon's the last thing, right?
It is.
It's the last part of it.
So they're running these 5+ minute miles, you know, sub 6 minute miles for 26.2 miles after already
After.
being out there for 2.5, 3 hours of work, right?
The swim alone exhausts me to
So
think
that's
about.
like, I mean, that's elite level, bro.
That is elite level.
That's really good. I mean, that's best of the best in my opinion. So I think that takes more discipline and more overall not just discipline, but overall like tenacity to be able to put that kind of effort in for that many events.
So for the people out there listening who are maybe like, well, how can I start incorporating like the crossover, the cross running? What would be some just real generic, I guess, standard like bits of advice that you could give people to help them kind of get in the direction of, okay, this is how you need to start planning for your transition between these things, or
Well, it kind of depends
incorporating?
on where you're at, right? So in other
Okay.
words, are you already maybe doing strength workouts and you want to add in running? Okay. Are you already running and you want to add in like some sort of strength element? Okay. Or you want to start doing like OCR or hyrox, you want to maybe dive into it, or maybe triathlon, you want to go swim and start biking or what have you. So depending on where you're at, so like let's say you're already doing strength work and you consider anything that is not lifting weights cardio. Okay. Most people don't understand what the word cardio means. They usually mean cardio is the way they lose weight or lose fat.
Yeah.
That's not actually what cardio is. Cardio is simply short for cardiorespiratory, right?
Yeah.
So it's meant to strengthen your cardiovascular system, your cardiorespiratory system, right?
Yeah.
So it strengthens your heart, helps your heart become more efficient at processing oxygen. So your heart gets stronger, makes you healthier. And then in addition to that, it gives you more endurance, right? So if you want to lift weights and be lean, you don't have to do cardio. But if you want to lift weights and you want to be healthy and you want to have more endurance and you want your strength training to get better, then you should probably do some sort of aerobic activities.
And let's face it, if you want to do hyrox, you really need to do those aerobic activities.
If you're going to do anything like
You
hyrox
need
or
to do
OCR,
'em.
you're going to have to do aerobic activities, right? You're going to have to develop an aerobic base.
Yeah.
And so if you're lifting and you want to start incorporating some sort of aerobic activities, well, I would say try to start maybe 2 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week, no more than that. 20 to 30 minutes at a time.
Okay.
And the goal is to try to keep moving at a slow, steady pace without stopping.
Okay.
And so if you have the access to watch your heart rate, just make sure you stay in zone 3, zone 2.
Okay.
And if you can do that, well, after 4 weeks or so, you're going to feel better, and then you can start increasing that distance, right, by 10% a week. And so I would make the suggestion that you, if you're already strength training to develop that capacity, I would do the running first.
Okay.
Right? So if you're going to run on the same days you lift, but you don't necessarily have to. You know, if you're not lifting every single day, you could alternate them, right? But if you wanted to run and lift on the same day, whichever one you want the focus to be on,
Okay.
that's the one you do first, because that's the one you want the most energy for.
Sure.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
we've talked about that.
Right? So if you're already running and you're trying to incorporate strength training, well, it's the same concept, just on the other flip side of it, right? Make sure your running is still easy, right? Think of the 80-20 principle in that 80% of everything you do. So every effort we do, whether we're swimming, biking, running, lifting weights, doing an obstacle course, workout, hyrox, whatever, 80% of those efforts should be pretty easy.
Yeah.
So it's simple math. If you're doing 5 efforts a week total, so every time you run, that's an effort.
Yep.
If you go and lift weights after that, that's an effort. So that would be 2 efforts in one day. Okay. So every effort needs to be, or 80% of those efforts need to be easy. So if you're doing 5 efforts a week, that means only one of those efforts can really be hard.
And just to clarify, because you've gone on to me about this, when you say a hard effort, that doesn't mean just I was in my anaerobic threshold or my threshold the entire time. That could also be time that you're out there, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Because I've done
anything over 2 hours, I would consider a hard effort.
I was gonna say, because sometimes when I have to teach and I'm teaching like 3 or 4 classes a day, pretty close together, you say that's kind of a big effort.
Well, I mean, if you're out there, if you're teaching and you're on a rower for freaking 4 hours
Good time.
and you row like 10,000 meters,
great
yeah,
time.
that's a hard freaking effort.
It's a good time.
So anything that's over 2 hours would be considered a hard effort.
Okay.
Okay. Even if you're keeping the intensity low,
Okay.
it's still a hard effort because
It's a lot on your body.
It's a lot on your body, right? So you're burning higher calories, right? You're probably not replenishing the way you should either.
Probably not.
So, but however many efforts, 80% of those efforts should be easy, 20% hard.
Got it.
Okay. So if you're doing less than 10 efforts a week, you should only be doing 1 hard. And hard could really be something that's anaerobic, that's really short, like maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes tops.
But you're getting that heart
but
rate
you're
way
like
up there.
way maxed effort.
Yeah.
It could be something that's more threshold, lactate threshold specific, where it's maybe 30 minutes to an hour, but it's not like maximum intensity.
Sure.
So anything in those ranges would be considered hard.
Okay.
Okay. And then if you do anything over 2 hours, that would be hard. So if you have a long run on Saturday that lasts longer than 2 hours,
That's hard effort.
and you're only doing 6 efforts a week, well, that's your hard effort for the
Yeah.
week, right? So just kind of keeping those things in mind, and it's just going to help keep you from getting injured and get burnt out, right? So, but if you're going to add in some strength training, I would say once or twice a week to start out with, right? It doesn't have to be super intense. Just doing movements with lighter weights, higher repetitions to understand the mobility and the modality of it, how your body's supposed to move, and get the form down first, right? Don't worry about trying to start lifting heavy and getting jacked and stacked, right? Worry about getting the movements correct, right? And how are those movements going to assist you in, whatever it is you're going to go do, right? So get a plan together, right? Whether you get help from somebody or you put something down on paper,
Write it
right?
down.
So don't just walk into a gym and be like, all right, today I'm going to do some strength stuff,
Yeah.
right? And this is, in my opinion, right? I mean, you don't have to agree with me, right? Just because this is what I believe and this is what I've studied and this is what I know to be true and it works. You don't have to believe me. It's all right, but doing back and buys and tries and chest and shoulders or whatever is a very antiquated way of training. It's not a very functional way of training.
Yeah.
And it works great if you're trying to be very specific in your training to show other people your pecs and your abs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'd be like more isometric training?
Like no, it's not isometric training. It's just specific training like bodybuilding, basically.
Okay.
You're telling me Kanye lied to me when he told me all chest, no legs.
Yeah, he did lie to you. Yeah,
Dang.
for sure. You don't want to do that, bro. So
Who
never
is that?
skip leg day.
It's a Kanye song.
It's
It's
a Kanye song.
So if you're listening to anything from Kanye, you're probably doing things wrong.
So I don't necessarily disagree with that.
I don't
but
either.
like straight up, if you're going to go in there, if you're trying to be a bodybuilder and you want to get greased up and get a tan and get on in a little, mankini and get on the stage and flex on people, then,
However, the protein
then break
power
those
moves
muscle
you.
groups up and try it all day long, right? But if you're trying to be functional and strong and live a healthy lifestyle, you probably want to do more complex movements. You probably want to do more high intensity training. You probably want to do more functional type training because it's going to be more beneficial for your overall life.
I'd agree to that,
Right?
for sure.
And studies have shown it's actually more beneficial for like overall results and building strength.
Yeah.
Right? Specifically if you're not just lifting weight, but you're lifting your own body weight.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, but what do I know? So I don't have abs or anything like that. So I'm just sitting here flabby patty.
I mean, if you think he's kidding, we have the picture from Hyrox, the chiseled.
Watch the video from last
full count
week.
photo.
Oh my God.
What?
It's on the video from last week, the podcast.
I was not being sarcastic. I was being sarcastic. I wasn't like,
Well,
You
either
do have
way,
abs,
the
though.
I
photos on
wasn't
the,
being sarcastic.
the
They're
video.
like,
It's on it from
they're
last
not
week.
really abs.
You're pretty cut, man.
It's like,
James, you're too. You see,
it's like
you're pretty cut.
He's decent. I mean, me back in the day.
Okay, Rocky, you got a baby in your lap. Chill.
what does that got to do with
I don't
anything?
know. I'm just telling him to chill.
Shouldn't lie in front of his child.
Shouldn't
Is that
lie
what-
in front of his
yeah,
child.
don't tell her to lie.
Hey, I got photos. Here's one now.
Oh my god.
How much time do we have left?
We're okay. We got
Okay,
like
cool.
10 minutes.
So I have another question. Since you mentioned it earlier, you said cardio is for cardiorespiratory. So it's the amount, because we were talking about like your mileage.
Cardiovascular, yeah.
Sorry,
Same
cardiovascular.
thing. Very same thing.
So we were
Similar.
talking about like your efforts, like you go out and you do a lot of running, but you don't exactly include the cardio efforts if you're in your workout. I'm getting tongue tied now.
Mm-hmm.
So specifically what I'm getting to is I have a friend who trains for a lot of the same events we train for. And when I was talking to them about their mileage, they're like, well, I don't really know. And I was like, well, do you ever like track your mileage on your watch or whatever you're using to track? She goes, not really. I only go out to run maybe like once, twice a week. I go, okay, well, what about when you go to the gym? I've been to your workouts at your gym. Y'all run around a lot. Like, do you count that as a cardio effort? She goes, no. So I guess I want to ask you more about that. When you count your mileage, like adding
Yep.
up your mileage, we run our watches all the time.
Sure.
So that for us is like cardio effort. If you come in the gym, you're probably running 2 or 3 miles during some of the workouts we do.
If it's an OCR workout, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's very event specific.
Yeah.
Right? So our OCR workouts are very event specific in that to an extent we are simulating an obstacle course race.
Yes.
Right? Not the same effort level.
No.
Usually I'm
Not the
telling
same
people
terrain.
not the exact same kind of terrain, right? But like
To the best of our abilities.
for the most part, I try to encourage people to keep the heart rate down, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never let my heart rate go out of the green on those workouts, right? So I keep them really easy. Some people, I can tell they're not in the green.
No.
Right? They're working hard.
Yeah.
Because they're new to it.
I would
Right?
say, or it's a race for them just from the
Yeah,
moment they
yeah,
walk
yeah.
in the gym, like it's race time.
Yeah, got to beat everybody else. So, but I would say you definitely have to count it because you're doing an aerobic effort.
Yeah.
And if you're not paying attention to it, it could very easily become a threshold effort, or it could become an anaerobic effort.
Yeah.
And so it could become a heart workout very, very, very easily, right?
Yeah.
So here's the deal. This is what I learned. I used to do everything pretty much what I thought was hard, because if it wasn't hard, it wasn't beneficial.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
that's a very common thought to get into.
Yeah. So if I wasn't dying at the end of the workout, it wasn't a good workout. Number one. Number two, what I came to realize is I actually wasn't doing hard workouts. I was doing medium effort workouts because I was always tired from doing medium effort workouts. So I never really put in a real hard effort. Now, maybe it was harder than other people could do at the time, right? Just because I'd done it for so long.
Sure.
But for the most part, they were medium efforts. So I was always in my lactate threshold, where you don't get benefit. You don't get long-term benefits from spending time in your lactate threshold. Your lactate threshold is only basically what you can do almost for about an hour max effort, right? And so that's like a 10K effort, right, for most folks, somewhere around there. And so if you're spending all your time in there, yes, you will increase your lactate threshold, but that's in the middle of. So think of it like this. If you're building a house, the house can only get so big based off of the foundation.
Sure.
Right? So if you build a foundation, right, and it's a square foundation, and you build the first floor of the house, and then you want to decide you want to build this second floor. And when you start building the second floor, you decide, you know what? I want my second floor to be wider and longer than my first floor, right? So now you're going to start building your second story,
Yeah.
right? And then you're going to have to put all these like support structures in, right? It's going to be hanging over your foundation,
Yeah.
okay? Well, now you decide you want to build a third level,
Yeah.
okay? Now your third level gets up there, and you decide we want it to be bigger than the level below it.
Yeah.
So you have to add in more support structure. Eventually, it's all going to come toppling down.
I would say this person should not get hired to build anyone's house.
No. So that's basically what you're doing when you spend all your time in your lactate threshold.
Okay.
The work effort you're putting in is not going to be able to be sustainable because you don't have the aerobic capacity to sustain it.
That makes a lot of sense. I actually think it's a really good analogy to
So
use. Yeah.
what'll end up happening is you'll either get injured
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to hit a plateau.
Yeah.
And you won't understand why you're hitting a plateau.
Gotcha.
I'm working hard. I should be getting better. I'm not getting any stronger. My pacing isn't getting any faster, right? And so some people, because they're young or maybe they're just really gifted, may do really well for a while doing that.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, people keep getting better than them, or people who are 10 years older than them are faster than them
Yeah.
and getting better because their training is more specific to the way the body increases overall aerobic capacity.
Gotcha.
And so if you increase your aerobic capacity, you are basically enlarging your foundation. And if you have a bigger foundation, well, the bigger the foundation, the higher the peak. So the bigger aerobic capacity, mobility, flexibility that you have, the more weight you can lift, the more movement you can do, the faster you can run, the higher you can jump. So it's all about that foundation. And so when we talk about periodization training, that's really what periodization training is. You work toward a peak. Once you hit that peak, now you reassess. You decide what's next. Now your peak becomes your new foundation. And you re-establish a new foundation of fitness.
Okay.
And you start building toward a new peak. And so if you're constantly doing that periodization training over and over and over and over again, well, that's how you can continue to progress without injury. That's how you continue to progress and get faster. That's how you continue to progress. And other people are like, how are you? That doesn't make it. Oh, they're just gifted, or they're just like they have these great genetics or something
No,
like that.
they're smart about it.
When really they have a plan and
Yeah.
they're sticking to their plan,
Yeah.
or they got some information that is available to everybody out there.
Their focus.
Yeah, and their focus is on progression rather than vanity, right? Like Strava vanity stuff. Like I got to make sure I'm running faster than other people on Strava, or it's a gym workout. I got to be faster than everybody else in the gym.
Yeah.
Right. I don't care if people are faster than me at the gym. The only thing that matters to me on race day.
Mm-hmm. You
Right.
see me with my dumbbells on workouts now.
Yeah.
Get the lowest weight.
Yeah. It don't matter.
It's on purpose.
I know people always do that. We like on Mondays specifically, right? Monday I'm in there. And I'm like, all right, guys, grab weights. And then everybody goes and grabs weights, and like 3 or 4 of the dudes always wait to see what I grab. They're like, "What are you getting, James?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about what I'm getting. You get what you need to get, right? Don't try to keep
James
up with me."
hangs out and gets his weights very last.
I will, and I'll usually get lower on purpose. If I see somebody grab like say 25s, I'll grab 15s, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?"
I mean, we all get nervous. We're like, wait, what's happening here?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I know what I'm getting.
And then about 3 rounds in, I'm like, "You want to switch weights?"
It is funny because you do it that way. Like, do you want to switch? You want to switch? Like, you don't know any better.
Yeah, like I'm doing them a favor.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's really what it comes down to is understanding that you have to get the pride out of it, understanding that you've got to be focused on what your overall goal is, and let your training match the goal.
Okay.
Not don't like be so worried about, okay, I've got to do a hard workout today, and then based off of what I was able to do on this one workout, okay, that's what I could race then.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's consistency over an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Right? It was cracking me up like a couple weeks leading up to hyrox. Some people were coming in and they were going hard. Right? And I'm like, it's too late.
You can't get any better.
You
at
ain't
this
getting any
point.
stronger in
Yeah.
the next week, right? What you should be doing is letting your body rest. Now, if you want to work out some form on the skier or the rower, maybe get your wall ball form down with light weight. That's cool. But I mean, by now, if you ain't got the fitness, you ain't
Yeah.
getting it by next week.
Yeah, true.
You can't
There's
cram for these type of tests.
Nope, that's not the kind of test you cram for. Nope, for sure.
No, it doesn't do any good. If anything, you're just going to get to the race and wonder, why do I feel like I'm dragging?
Yes, exactly. You're just gonna drag butt.
So what is, now both of y'all, what are your, hyrox is technically done for you until championships, so until May. What is your next goal that you're focusing on now?
So I'm doing the Spartan Super next weekend on Saturday, and then
it is
Sunday
next
we're running
weekend.
with the
Holy
team.
cow.
And then I'm also going to do the Stadion race. So the
April
Spartan
1st.
Sprint Stadion in April. And then May is just a month away from there where I'll do hyrox again. So I'll have a couple races that are going to be OCR specific, then transition back to hyrox. And then out of hyrox, I'm going to transition back into OCR to get ready for OCR Worlds.
Okay, so you are going to do Worlds this year?
I'm going to try to, yeah.
Cool.
And then maybe World's Toughest Mudder.
Yeah.
Or learning how to watch somebody mow my lawn, one of the two. I'll be in training for that too.
Just going to be out there in that lawn chair. Got to get comfortable.
You missed a spot right there.
Yeah, right there.
Don't forget to pick that weed up.
You gonna have the weed eat too?
Oh, yeah.
I have to do the whole thing.
She's got to do flower beds.
Oh,
everything.
dang.
See, that's the funny thing.
I feel like I'm being real lenient, though. The last week, I've been so freaking lenient.
You were very
my
kind.
God.
You were very kind. I was very sick that one day, but you've been very kind. I've got this last month, guys. Just cross your fingers for me and hope that I can keep it together.
Almost there.
Rocky, what about you? What goals you got coming up? You've done your first
I've
hyrox?
done hyrox. I'm gonna do the Stadion race, but I'm gonna do the open with family, friends, and our listeners for Running with James podcast. I'm doing that for you guys. But as goal wise, I think the only Spartan I can think of is the usual one in October. Is that gonna be around?
October.
Yeah.
The
it
Dallas
is.
Spartan.
Yeah. But it'll be like a beast, ultra beast, and then a sprint. So the beast and ultra beast will be usually on Saturday, and then the sprint will be on Sunday.
Well, I usually do the
No
beast.
Savage for you?
Yeah, you gonna do the beast?
I mean, it's one I like. That's the first one I ever competed in.
Yeah. All right.
But that'd be my goal for right now.
I like
mean, I was asked to do the vintage half marathon, but
Were you gonna do the relay or the half marathon?
the half marathon.
I didn't know there was a relay.
Yeah, you do. Basically, you break up the half.
That'd be
Me and
fun.
James won a half. We won
That'd
the
be
Cypress
fun.
half.
We did. We
We can do
That
that
dude
again.
came in like a wrecking ball.
Yeah, I was flying.
He was flying.
I believe
It's
it.
about sub-6.
I
He
believe
was. He was moving and grooving. I mean, I got him a good little head
Head
start.
start, yeah.
But he was running way faster than I was running. That's for dang sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
That's because I thought we were in second, and that dude was in front of me,
Yeah.
but we weren't in second. He just started after that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I caught him.
Mm-hmm. Owned him at that finish line.
Yeah,
It was good. It was fun.
Proud
it
moment.
was very fun.
That's cool.
But yeah, Stadion, I guess Spartan.
Yep.
You know, get back into OCR. That hyrox
Yeah.
kind of, and there's no hyrox till next year.
Yeah, pretty sure.
I mean, unless you want to come to Dallas.
I'm not going
That's
down.
a
That's
little
too soon.
It
You
is
Yeah,
can't really
soon.
train like
I'd be the same thing.
legit
So
train. right?
November, unless they add another fall date, November.
Which they may. We'll see.
Yeah, they might. They very well might.
What about you, Lauren?
Well, I'm doing the Super next weekend with you competitively, and then I've got one more hyrox with my doubles partner. She will finally be back this weekend. She's been gone for like the last 10 days, just living it up in South America, which is super exciting for her, loving that for her. But she's left me here.
She's left you here.
She's left me here.
Yep.
She's enjoying llamas and mountains, and I'm here waiting,
Putting
twiddling
up
my
with us.
waiting with y'all in the slums. But
Wow.
Getting podiums.
Wow. Okay. I see how it is. All right. So we've come to that point in the show
Oh boy.
Don't you know?
Are you ready?
For Rocky's Ramblings.
All right. Okay, so it was kind of crazy. I did prepare for this Rockies Rambles with my
Oh,
phone
snap.
out.
I'm
If
excited.
you're watching, you can see me with my phone and my baby. Hey, don't you start right now.
Oh, she's like,
got this
she's
far.
like, this is my segment. Nyla's
Nyla's Rambles.
nagging or
Nyla's
Yeah.
nagging. No, I did not know that's what that meant.
You probably shouldn't use phrases you don't know what the heck they mean.
I always
I
thought
don't think it means what you think it
Don't
means.
think it means what you think it
I
means.
really thought it meant something totally innocent. I'm
No.
sorry.
Not at all.
Oh.
Are you ready to ramble,
Are you
bro?
gonna
I am ready to ramble.
Okay, let's
Please.
go.
All right, so it's kind of crazy because you were talking about focus earlier, and when I was thinking about this ramble earlier in my drive, I was thinking about focus, and I was thinking about focus on where you're at right now. I don't care about how you. I love you guys, of course, the listeners as well, but I don't care about your feelings.
Dang.
I don't care about how you're feeling today. Do not be discouraged because of your feelings and how you feel today. I know it may you seem like you're not getting enough, you're not getting them gains, or you're not where you want to be yet. Guess what? Keep on sowing those seeds.
Message.
Keep doing that because soon you'll reap the harvest. Right?
Message.
Yeah. There's a difference between what you feel and who you are.
Oh, preach.
You know. So stay focused. Remember who you are, and trust the process.
Woo.
That's it for today.
Should we take an offering up or something?
You
bro?
know
I
what
feel
I'm
like
saying?
we start singing Hallelujah, Hallelujah. No,
No, not
Okay.
today.
I'm sorry. I just scared the baby.
See what you did, Jay?
I know,
you
clapping
really
loud. She's like,
did.
"Why are you messing with my ears?" So, all right, guys. So that is it for today's episode of Running with James. Thank you for coming in. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go to the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us, like, subscribe, share it with your mom and them because you always share the things you love with the people that you love.
Amen.
Amen. And then also, don't forget all the platforms. Go on them. Follow us. Rate the show. Give us the 5 stars. And if you have an idea for a show, simply just send us an email at james@mybcfit.com. And you can also slide into,
Lauren's DMs. Backyard Bohemian.
yeah.
The Backyard Bohemian.
I really don't like that name, just so you
I don't
know.
even know what it
Backyard
means.
Bohemian?
Yeah, it
What's
just doesn't-
bohemian?
It sounds kind of...
So it applied a lot to when I lived in my old house and I had my backyard bees. I had my own backyard garden. I was doing a lot of homestead stuff, and now that's not really, not that I don't want to be having my backyard bees and all that, but my life has transitioned slightly
Sure.
differently.
I
get
thought
it.
I thought
Bohemian
about
was a
changing
Queen
it.
song.
No, I think Bohemian has to do with being not clothed.
Oh.
It's like
No, it's
natural or
bohemian
something.
lifestyle. It's more of a hippy dippy natural lifestyle, which that I'm okay with.
Same.
It's
You
very
don't like
dirty.
I think she's putting more deodorant on.
It's like no deodorant. Don't wash your feet.
Okay.
Like,
Don't shave your
Anyway.
pits.
Don't shave your armpits.
Anyway, okay.
Right? Did I tell you the first time I met her?
No.
What happened?
Can we not?
The very first time I met her was at the gym, and we were doing pull-ups or something, and they were like, okay, if you're gonna spot somebody in a
This was,
pull-up, you want
10
to put your
years
knee down
ago.
and have them put their foot on your knee. So I was spotting Lauren. It was the first time I met her, right? Young, tall, pretty, whatever. And then she put her foot on my leg, and her leg scraped my leg, and I had shorts on.
Lies.
And it was like sandpaper,
It
bro.
lies.
It was like
I thought you were
So
saying you got
many lies.
staff.
I was like, dude, this chick is leaving a rash on my leg. And I was trying to be like, it was not what I was expecting, right? When I saw what I saw. And then I was a little off put. I was like, this chick is a little gross. And I was like, she's a little greasy. She's a little hairy. I'm just telling you the truth.
I love you,
That was
Lauren.
my first thought. Why are you making this
gosh.
face? You never know. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So shave your dadgum legs.
That was 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh! Don't make it not true.
Megan, she's wearing pants in this videos, guys. Sorry about that.
She's wearing pants today. So, but anyway, so
Man.
that's the bohemian lifestyle she lives.
Yes, the Bohemian.
Right? Maybe my leg should have been shaved. Maybe I should not. Hairy men should not live in glass houses. I don't know.
Okay, now that you've done that, thank you so very much. I was going to say another thing that you forgot to, plug is since we are sending some athletes to world championships
Yep.
in the UK, we are taking BC sponsorships.
We are.
If you would like to be part of the BC team and, we can work out having you on the podcast, mentioning you on the YouTube channel, promoting your logo on a jersey or something.
Mm-hmm.
We are open to ideas and collaborations with sponsors. So
Yep.
reach
It's got
out
to be the right
us.
fit, though. Obviously,
It obviously has to be
No,
the
we're
right
not just
fit.
taking any Tom, Dick, and Harry out here.
No.
Right? No. Now, I mean, if you're like a bohemian style company or whatever, Lauren's all about that life.
They're gonna say if you're like from Venus and you
Yeah.
get razors,
Slide
reach out
into her
to Lauren.
DMs and you get that sponsorship. So, all right, guys, thanks for coming in today. We'll see you next week. Remember, as always,
Change your mind.
You change your life.
peace out, guys.
Peace.
Bye.